Okay, I'm not sure how obvious it'll be, but I had to stop the camera because hubby came in. I think he's gone again for a bit. So I was just about to glue this flower on, and then I got looking and I thought maybe it needs a touch more pink. So I cut this little fabric scrap, and I'm just cutting the little foam piece off the back of that paper flower sticker. And then this page will be done for the moment. So I'm just going to put this on this plain spot here. Oh, that was what I was going to do too, was distress that rose a bit. It's got a bit of a gray tone to it, so I wanted to make it a little more beigey. And while he was yakking at me, I went ahead and did the other matching page. It needs a little more glue there. These are okay. You didn't need to see that twice anyway, did you? Drove back in. Oh well, this might be a cut up video, but that's okay. And then the next little thing that I did on the other book was I put some lace with gold ribbon through it down the side of this facing page. And I think I did it at the back too. Yeah, it's just plain, doesn't have the roses, but I still put the ribbon there. So I'll do that, and I've got some pre-cut. It's just a little bit long. You never want to do it exactly because it might not end up being exactly by the time you get it glued on. Sometimes things just don't work out, especially with fabric items. They can stretch a little bit. Just do that, and then I want this so that the lace is hanging over the edge of the page. Pretty. And I'll just cut that off flush with the page, top and bottom. Pretty, very pretty. We'll go to the back and do the other one. So I like this, the way this paper was on the back. It's polka dotted. I wonder why. Yeah, I guess that one is too. I was noticing the roses more so. But the polka dots are there. So this is coffee dyed by me, and I have this one baking pan that has circles in it, holes cut in it. And so when I put the paper on that baking pan and put it in the oven, it gives me this polka dot effect, which is kind of cool. Kind of whimsical in a way, but not childish, but a little whimsical. There, so that's another section of page done. And then let's refer back to the one I did off camera. The next page, I have a dragonfly sticker and a tab. And the tab was taken out of this scrapbook paper that I used here to make this fold out tuck spot, journaling spot, tuck spot, journaling spot. if I have this paper handy. I do have this stuff handy. So I got a vellum bit here. Friends are kind to each other's hopes. And this was actually a bigger saying that I split up. So friends are kind to each other's hopes. And then I think it continues over here. They cherish each other's dreams. But the one that I have for this book, it's from the same set, so of course it's not the same. And the song, from beginning to end, I found again in the heart of a friend. I think that has to stay all together, but maybe the picture then could be separate. Maybe what I have to do with this one, because that is so much bigger. Maybe I won't split it up so much. Maybe I'll use it kind of more. Oh yeah, that's a perfect size to go down the one side of the page, the plain page. If I put it on top of this page, it would work too. In the other book, it's on the plain page, but it's not plain anymore. I've covered it with music paper, which I could do again. I could cover this. Actually, it's covered with book page paper. Let me see what I have. Not enough to do the back page too, the back half of the book. Just struggling to find where I put them. So there's more of that, but the problem is this is on ivory paper and this is on white paper. And then I could just do some ledger paper. It's the right color. These are some of the collages that I've done. And I photocopy them on several different types of paper just to see how it comes out. That one is a little rustic looking for this book. This one's not bad, but the some of the beige is looking almost pink. That one I think is a little too white. Although if I did it this way, it wouldn't be too bad. I can ink that. And then that could be over top of that kind of plain part. And then in the back of the book, I can use, well, you know what? I think I'm going to use the ledger. I think it's the right tone and it's plain enough. Cut that in half. I don't really want to leave the white edges. Maybe I will try tearing them off. Just with the square ruler though, not with the deckled edge. I'm gonna trick is to get a hold of the bigger part of the paper. Hold down really firmly with your ruler so that it doesn't just slip out from underneath when you're trying to cut off something that small. I just want the beige part. This is printed. It's not actual beige ledger paper. It's printed on this white sheet. See, you have to watch for that kind of thing, where it doesn't, it just sort of slips out. And you have to go back and try to get it. There we go. And then I will ink that edge. Just so you don't see the white from the tear. It makes it look a little older. So now I've got book page, music page, map, and ledger. Some confetti paper, which is just like the stationery paper that you buy in a pack of 100. I've got scrapbook paper, the really pretty stuff. Coffee dyed, and I think avocado dyed. Vintage music paper and photocopied music paper. Photocopies of my own collages. So quite an assortment. That's the whole idea of a junk journal, right? If you weren't getting it before, that's the name of the game. Now this is still going to have a white edge, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to heavily ink that before I stick this down so that it's not a white edge. So again, with my sacrificial paper here, I'm going to get this nicely beige. So that when when this is glued on, it kind of blends in a bit more. Inking is so important to the end look, to me. And I was starting and I didn't have ink, and I was doing it with a little bit of paint, watered down or something. It's just not the same as the ink. Gives it that aged look. Scissors back where I can find them. And then I'm going to use my glue stick on the back of the page. And this is going to give me a nice firm page too, because it's already the confetti paper, which is a nice weight, like heavier than the photocopy paper. And then this is photocopy paper that I'm gluing. And it's got glue everywhere, so that stiffens it up too. Put that wider band at the top. And that's too far down because I want this to be similar top and bottom too. And this is where more of a cardboard piece comes in handy, so that you can get a firmer press, because what I've got is lumps and bumps underneath here from the flowers and stuff. So to get this really pressed down, I need something a little firmer underneath it. this, I think on the other book, oh, I have all the edges covered on the other book. I've got, actually not covered, I've got it cut with the fancy scissors and then surrounded by lace and, what do you call it, gauze. So let's do that again. I want the whiskers, paper edgers, and that's going to make this just a bit smaller too by cutting it down. And I'll keep these little bits of vellum because, you know, collaging. I just love the shape of this particular scissors. And that's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, that quote. This is one of the first shaped scissors that I ever had, and I just love them. I feel like this page needs something pink too, though, because the flowers aren't going to be on this page. These flowers are going to be at the back of the book. On the other page, probably down in the other corner, like down here. Maybe I should make this a tuck. Or have a strip of something pink. I can't have too much dimension on the page because I don't want the book to be hugely gator mouth, but I could do something like this. But just maybe have, I wish I could tear it like that. Maybe I can cut it with the inking shears, something like that. So do I need it the full height? No, it needs to be about here. Maybe I'll just go with the width of this thing, backing piece that was on the fabric sample. That kind of makes it a little easier to cut, I think. I'm going to come down to here and then across so that the pink is behind there. And then on the other side, I'll put something wispy, some lace or something. I don't want to completely cover up the ledger. So if I have that glued down, and then that, and then some lace or gauze coming around this side. And that just gives me a little bit of pink on this page. So for gauze, I have this. Cut about a rough edge on the one side, but about a 3/4 inch strip. And I'm just going to cut this full length of what I have here because I want to go across the top and down the side. And I want to scrunch it up a little bit as I lay it down, not just stretch it out. Almost ruffle it. You know what I mean? Like I've got more than I need, but by the time I ruffle it up, I don't think I'll have to cut any off. If you get my meaning. And I'll put this sort of right down in the corner. And that gives you lots of room left over here to do a little writing. Spreading the glue all the way to the edge in case you can't see it. Yeah, this is the upholstery fabric sample, so it has the paper on the back. And I started off to try to take all the paper off, and then I realized that that was just a big job. Not an impossible job, but a little bit tedious and a little bit more than I felt like doing at the time. So I've come up with a bunch of ways to use it with it on, and this is one of them. You don't need to tear it off to do this. If you're sewing with it, making a quilt or something like that, of course you need to take it off, but for what I was doing, not so much. Now I'm gonna just put a little bit of this clear glue right along the edge of this. I'm thinking this will be almost invisible, but I still want to do it nice and neat. This is the Beacon 3-in-1 glue, as opposed to the Aleene's tacky glue, which is the white one that I'm using. And it dries really fast because it's an acetone base, so I always keep it capped. And I want to see a little bit of pink at the top and all around the edge, and then it highlights Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I'm just pressing it out so that it kind of gets into the fabric. Hopefully the fabric won't just absorb all the glue. If it does, I can go back and give it another shot. And then the tacky, for the first thing I want to do with this stuff is scrunch it up. So you just roll it in a ball and give it some little bit of distressing so that your cut edge is then a nice rough, raw edge. And I think I even distressed the other one a little bit with some ink. So I'll do that too. This vintage photo is not too dark, but just so that this isn't so clean. It is a unbleached muslin, but still want it just a little bit more vintage. This was my dad's arm sling when he was in the hospital. He saw me eyeing it. He could give me this really strange look when the nurse brought it over to him and put it on him, and I was eyeing it like my mouth was watering, and he's going, "What?" I said, "When you're done with that, I want it." He just looked at me and shook his head. I mean, he knows his daughter is a crazy woman. Okay, no, I want to glue this down, don't I? So I don't want to protect that from itself. I think this is going to have to be the tacky. No, I think I better do the clear. I'll just put a fair bit of it. I'll put it on Sorry, I'm almost whispering today. I don't know why. It's not trying to be an ASMR video. I don't know if that's enough glue. It's sticking the gauze to the vellum, but I don't know that it's going to stick it down. Maybe I could have put the gauze on the vellum before I stuck it down. Lesson learned. There's a lesson every day. You make a mistake, you figure out a better way you could have done it. That's not good. I think it's got to be by hand sometimes. I just love the wispy look that this gives for the edge. Well, I do get some to cut off, but that's okay. So a different look than the other one because I was dealing with a different decoration. So this one has friends are kind to each other's hopes and the pocket. We don't really have room for the pocket this time. So that's really why I should have made this a pocket, but it could still be because this isn't glued down to the, maybe I will leave that loose. And let that be like a tuck spot for one of the tags, and maybe the tag will have some floral underneath that writing. I can plan it that way. Just got to make sure that the gauze isn't going to come off of the vellum. I think it's pretty good. And then when I have a tag to put in there, it might be more of a journaling card that I put in there. It gives it a place to seat against the pink. Anyway, I think that'll be good. And then we'll go to the back and finish the same thing at the back. And then all I have to do is put a sticker on this page. That's all that was in the other book, was the dragonfly sticker. So we're here. Do the same thing. There is a way to print that you don't get that white border. I got to figure that out. I think it's just as simple as ticking a box that says borderless or something. Problem is I work with a few different printers, 2 at home and a different one at work. I don't use the one at work too much, but it does work differently than my ones at home. So page. Whiteness, ink the whiteness away. From the edges. One thing I'm wondering is if anyone has any suggestions for my birthday giveaway. I was thinking about maybe giving away one of these books. And then the other idea was just a package of crafting materials. Well, I know that not everybody that watches the videos really wants to do the craft. So I wasn't sure what to do, but if anyone has any thoughts on that, please mention them down below. And we will consider the different ideas. I always just double check this to make sure it isn't sticky before I turn my page over and glue on it, because I'm putting the good side down, right? I know that seems pretty obvious, but I did it several times, so worth mentioning to someone who might just be thinking about starting this and hasn't done it yet. None of it's difficult, but there are some times when you get things out of order and it just doesn't turn out like you envisioned because of that, one way or another. Cardboard page. These backs of note paper, any kind of notepad or paper pad. I always save these back pieces because they're nice and thick and sturdy for things like this, or for making book covers. Yeah, I'm really glad I included the ledger paper in there. I like the way that looks. And then we'll finish cutting the edges of this to go down in the corner. And I think, just to keep it the same as the other side, I'm going to use the gauze again, but I'm thinking I might still use a little bit of the pink fabric. I'm not sure just yet. It does have the pink already. Maybe I'll make this a tuck spot too and have it kind of anchored by the pink. That makes those flowers look even pinker, doesn't it? I was thinking almost having a strip on top. Just a little thin strip, maybe. That's pretty crooked. Let's go here. And I could make this a tuck spot too. Yeah, do it underneath, because having it underneath lifts this up just enough that you have room to tuck something in. And then what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to put that gauze on the back before I glue it down and see if that goes easier. So I was on the lookout for the longest time for some unbleached muslin fabric. And I finally broke down and bought a packet of it from Walmart around Easter time when Dad was in the hospital. And then yesterday I was doing some organizing and cleaning in the craft room, and I found like 3 or 4 old craft kits that no one's ever going to do. And they each had a fairly big piece of muslin in it. I'm thinking, oh, I have too much stuff. I don't even know what I have. So I gotta keep at that craft room. I'm sure I'm gonna find all kinds of neat things in there. I didn't really check that to see if it was just exactly right. I'm gonna do it underneath. So there. And then I don't think the other piece was quite right. I think I want it just a little longer than the vellum. I don't need those overlapping. That makes it too thick. I can have them kind of interlocking with the zigzag. And then cut that off. Maybe just cut it off 1 or 2 notches in from the end. You see, I don't measure much, and I'm a person that knows how to measure things. It's not that I can't. I just like it to be, I don't know, fun, free. Figure it out as you go. I guess because in my work I do have to measure and be so precise. I design a kitchen down to the 1/8 of an inch. And it has to be just so. This doesn't. I think that's where I like it. And, you know, some people do craft with precision, and that's fine. That's their style. For me, I'm letting go of the need for precision when I craft because I have to do it so much when I work. At least that's my take on it. Also, that's still a little bit long. I could cut off a little bit more there. Not much, just the end, just the very end, like that. Yep. Now it's sticking up about the same in both spots. But let's do this vellum first before we put it down. And that's gonna go here and here. Oh, and I need to scrunch and distress first. It doesn't take much, does it, to make it fray just right. That doesn't do all that much to it, but I still think it needs doing. Okay, so on the top edge and the non-flower edge, I'll start by just gluing along the top edge, putting a fairly thick bead of this down because it needs to hold that gauze. I'm just going to start around the corner. tuck that in and start. It's kind of twisted. I don't want it twisted, I don't think. And continuing down the side. This gives it such a pretty wispy look. Oh, the house is so quiet when I'm doing this. You know, I like our quiet, but normally if I'm crafting, I've got YouTube on. Something on for background noise. That's why every once in a while you'll probably see a silent video from me with just music over top or a voiceover. I guess I could do voiceovers. Yeah, that's pretty. And then this gets glued down to the pink. And that just accentuates this pink, I think. Like if that's just sitting up there, it's sort of, yeah, it's good. But when it's down here with this other pink stuff, it just sort of enhances it. So, and again, I'll find just the right, I'll make just the right tag to go in there. Or a little fold up note paper or something that's got that a nice color to complement it. I had to think for a second. I was thinking I was gluing the wrong edge. Oh, I'm liking that. So see how lifting that vellum up onto the fabric, it just gives a little more room in there for a thick card or thicker card or a paper that's been folded over a few times or something, or a little mini notebook. Lord knows I have enough of those in my stash now. You haven't seen, I've got a few different styles of mini notebooks, videos on them. And you can probably catch most of them in this, in the Crafting with Judy playlist. So there's those. And this wants to curl up, but it'll be fine once it dries. I'll put this under something heavy tonight so that will get a chance to dry. And then I've got some other scrapbook paper kind of pockets and things in this other book. I think I had the papers set aside. Yeah. There's the pink polka dot one, and then the roses, a few of them. Bird cage, I love the bird cage. I would just need to maybe dull that down a tiny bit, but let's see here. So I had a note paper tuck combination over here because I had one that was double-sided with lines on the other side. I wonder if I could just do that with the bird cage somehow. The other thing I have is this. So this was folded in half and then folded up. That would show, or that would show. Sorry, I didn't have this planned out, but there's another way to do it. Or if this is too pretty, like bright. I don't think so. Just that it has the, yeah, it's not the right colors on the butterflies for this book. Nothing wrong with the coloring, it's just not very good for this book. The other thing I could do is, because I don't need the polka dot with this, well, I could make a little note thingy with the polka dot, just a simple fold over and tuck it in here. That would be cute. So maybe I'll do that while I'm here. Fold it as well as I can, and then gotta do some inking. I'll do some inking around here too, because I think that'll look good in there. This really does dull down the pink, and it's already pretty dull, but I'm gonna round corners too. Just a bit. And I'm going to do these ones too. Then it looks more intentional, not just like a folded piece of paper, which is of course what it is. I mean, I suppose I could even sew a couple pages in there, but I think just a note, just enough to add more journaling space other than just what's available on that journal ledger paper. And I think I'll just do a very light, maybe even with the brush instead of the no. This must have more ink built up in it. There, that's better. You can still write on it, but when you open it up, it's not the one pure white thing in the book. So I'm gonna ink this edge extra. So don't ever worry about if your paper's too white. You can always just do something like this. Do the coffee dyeing trick, even a spray bottle. There. that is just going to live in here. And then again, that just backs up that ivory stuff and shows the pinkness. People that knew me in high school know I love pink. They used to call me Pinky. But as an adult, I'm more into blues, so it's really kind of even surprising me that I'm making this journal in these tones, but it's just so pretty. I think it was because I had this scrapbooking paper from my mom's stash, and I found this in, I think that was mom's as well. And so it just morphed into this. So there we go. I might just do some stickers on there, but I don't have them handy. And let's go back to this page here and see if we need to do something else. Maybe we could do the same thing, only have it as the bird cage, because then that's not really fighting with that for your attention. You see my method in my madness yet? Around my corners. And ink some edges. And I just love the birdcage image. I do have a birdcage stamp that I could also use in this book somewhere. And then this rose is there, but it's not going to be visible when this tag is in there. I mean, you could put it up either way, but the plan is for it to be at the back. And it's funny when you watch the YouTubers do their flip throughs of a journal, they have a specific way that those tags and tuck things are intended to be in the pocket so that they look a certain way. It's all part of the art. And it can be intimidating for someone who doesn't really get that, or it isn't their part of their plan. But when you get a junk journal, then it's yours to do with what you want. And you might change the whole concept of a book by how you use it and what you put in it. But the original maker will have had a certain vision in mind, how they saw it playing out. Make a tag to sit a certain way and have a certain amount of it poking out that shows a certain part that is important to them, or they want to be the statement of the page. Even when you watch the really seasoned ones that do something, make something, and they make it look like it's all just random, but it's all pretty thought out. There, so that can go, it can go like this. But the intention for me was for it to go like this.